Hi Mark, great as always to meet up with you on the range and do some further work on your game. As we were joking about on Twitter earlier, the lesson recap here could sound very, very familiar. It's a case of working the butt of the club down more from P4 to P5.5. As per the pictures we see on the top row, you can see there's still some residual stuff with a little bit of excessive rotation, and that in turn pulls the left arm out rather than keeping it in, which has an effect on the line of the shaft, setting a little bit steeper, although that's not as steep as you can get it, rather than shallowing out a little bit. So still a little bit eager to sort of turn and shift the plane left, nowhere near as much left as before. It's a degree or two now, whereas previously you could get sort of 7-8 degrees to the left if you weren't careful. Certainly hitting down on the ball a lot less. This particular piece, the transition, the move from the top, is more prevalent in your driver swing than it is in your iron swing. In your iron swing, because obviously if you don't do it quite enough, you are still hitting down enough to create the into-out path that you're looking for. Does create the odd heel strike on occasion and the tendency to just bleed one off to the right. But predominantly your irons are on a pretty good line. With the driver, the tendency from there will be to turn a little bit too quick, arms drifting too far out in front of you, moving the heel of the club towards the ball. You're then having to tuck the hips under and the head coming off the wall to introduce some into-out into the golf swing, or what we're discussing is prevent the club coming further across the golf ball. So the move from P4 needs to be more downward and less outward. It's only a little bit, particularly with your irons. Like I say, it's more pronounced with your driver. So just feeling like that move from P4 is more down towards the sort of the stance line. That's the feel, as opposed to out towards the baseline. So you see there just a little bit too much outward, which means at P5 we're looking a little bit too much straight down the arm. It's, at the end of the day, inline shots, maybe a little bit of a cut bias with that, particularly based on the way you release the golf club coming through and shifting it further left. Is it disaster? Not really. Is it the shot that you see? Definitely not. So we definitely know that we hit it better when the left arm is a little bit more in at P5, as per Charlie Wee here on the far right. Don't mind the fact that you're not as deep as he is. If you shortened up your arm swing, that would help a little bit. But we certainly see at P5, the butt of the club is not drifting out towards the ball quite as dramatically, and as a result, as he comes down at P6, what if we just stop it, say, at this point where the shaft is through the forearm, so let's say 5.75, we can see there that the shaft started to sort of raise and stays between the forearms. At your best, the shaft is on the forearm, as per Charlie. When we look at it from face on, again, prevalent with both shots, irons and drivers, just a little bit of over flexing of the right knee. On this one, we kept it more stable early in the swing, great looking P5, and then that flex just kicks in a little bit too much. We'd want to see a straighter right leg, so that we're pushing up out of the ground a little bit more, controlling the flexing of the right knee, and rather than over flexing the right knee to provide us with some rotation where the hips may back up a little bit, what we want to see is both legs straightening, raising the level of the belt, bringing the hips out the forward tilt, allowing the body to continue to turn and regulating the rate of closure through impact. So, again, it's all stuff that we've done before. The one change that we did talk about was in the takeaway, and we advised that you just feel like you're pushing down on the butt of the golf club a little bit from P1 to P2. You can see when you do that, that takeaway is as good as I've seen you do it. Club doesn't creep behind you quite as much. Beautiful position at P2, and the feeling there is that you're pushing down on the butt of the golf club with pressure point 2 So the pad of the left hand, pushing down on the butt of the golf club, introducing a little bit more wrist cock early in the swing, and introducing a little bit more of a softening of the right arm. If we look at it from face on, the takeaway is nowhere near as sort of as artificially wide, shall we say, as it used to get, where that right arm used to stay very, very straight. So more gradual loading of accumulator 1 and 2, brought about by just feeling that the pad of the left hand is pushing down on the butt of the golf club. You see the much more wrist cock than you would normally have by the time you arrive at P3 or just beyond. So great work, and look forward to watching things progress. Your game's in a really good place. To get the result you got last week after a sort of lengthy layoff of 2 weeks says a lot about where you are with your swing and your overall game at the moment. And as we discussed, you're just a win away from getting that confidence back and really kicking on. Good luck with it, and I look forward to watching you progress throughout June, July, and working with you again once the competitions start to calm down a little bit. Good luck, well done, keep in touch.